look here. It's the D Train, Danny Larenberg on the ones and the twos, and over there Henry Papali in New Jersey land. We're talking about The Trip today, which is a British film / TV series / series of films / Steve Coogan vanity project. And I'm ready to do it. I'm here on the ones and the twos. Henry, simply headphones and a microphone, but he's engaged and ready to go. I see it. Why don't you talk to the people, Henry?
Welcome, everybody. Henry here in the Garden State with my friend in the Empire State, talking to you about the state of the first two Trip movies, episode 267. And it's very exciting.
Now, I hope you didn't watch that weird Roger Corman movie with Jack Nicholson from the 60s. We are, of course, talking about, what's his name? Coogan? Steve Coogan. Yeah, I have a lot to say about Steve Coogan. Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon, series of talkies where they travel about landscapes and discuss food and do impressions.
Yeah, this was, I guess, a show that, of course, us in the United States...
No, I have done some research on the subject.
Well, I thought it was a BBC kind of Sky Air show where there was some... And then these were made sort of like a Blue in the Face production of a Smoke-ish type
What's
thing.
a Blue in the Face production? I don't know that reference.
Like when they made Smoke. It's not the greatest analogy. When they made Smoke, the Wayne Wang?
Yeah, that's right. Wayne Wang.
He decided to keep some of the cast members who had so much fun making Smoke, they decided to make like a side little movie after it was over, Blue in the Face. And so I kind of thought this was a concoction of the idea of that.
I don't believe it was after it was over. I believe what happened was they just filmed this, and then they edited it in two separate ways. One as a serialized television show with more material, and one as a film. And apparently they've done this with all the movies. Like, we're going to cover The Trip to Italy as well, and they used the raw footage of that to create season 2 of the TV show and edited it as a film otherwise. So it's sort of a challenging project. I called it a Steve Coogan vanity project, which isn't totally true, because it's directed by Michael Winterbottom, who's an auteur and has been around since the 90s making very specific British films. And I guess while he's filming, he has to think of the finished project in terms of both serialized television and a film. It's really, I can't even imagine doing that. The only director I can even think that tried to do this is Ingmar Bergman, with Scenes from a Marriage and Fanny and Alexander, which were both aired as television miniseries as well as films.
Oh, okay. See, I had it reversed. I thought it was originally like a TV 2-part mini, and then they made a movie edited out of that. But okay, so yeah. Either way, he does it, and he gets it. I mean, he gets it to work. I'd be curious to see the show. I did indulge myself and found some YouTube clips because, of course...
how'd they feel to you compared to the movie?
Less... Like, they go on longer, the takes, definitely.
Well, that makes sense, right?
Right, but the main thing that was funny, and I don't know how much of this was just... editing and the cuts, but Coogan, especially when Rob Brydon is talking or doing an impression or whatever, he laughs a lot more. Like in the movie, he's kind of like the deadpan, like, you're annoying me, you're not that funny.
Well, I think he laughs a lot more in the second one.
He does. But in the cuts for the Trip, he is like laughing all the time. So I don't even know, like, if it was stuff they just didn't think was going to make it in there, or he just didn't care about being like in character, sort of, quote unquote. Even
I think when you're putting this together as a film, you have to think of it in terms of the arc, and the arc that they came up with for the movie in general is about grown, like, adult male friendship. And so I think kind of the point of the movie is for Coogan to take Bryden for granted and not realize what an important person he's been in his life until the very end. And he comes to that realization, I think, brilliantly, without ever once discussing it at all with anybody.
I think that's a great observation. I agree with you. I didn't, interestingly though, I'd like to know what you thought. I didn't see one, I didn't notice one moment where that happens. It just kind of happens.
No, it's in general, he sort of learns to appreciate him. Although I think if there is a moment, it is when he's talking to his son on the phone. And his son says, you've known him for 11 years? That's a long time. And
that's in the first movie, too.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Right,
I mean, I don't think this is what the second movie is about. I don't think the second movie is really about their friendship at all.
Well, I think there's certain aspects that are, but go ahead. When his son is that's for us where we can kind of connect to Steve Coogan, where his
son's like 13 years old. 11 years is like his entire fucking life. And Coogan, to him, it's like in 2010, it's like, so what? I've known him since 1999. But like that 11 years is a significant portion of your life. Coogan says his character is 44 in this movie. I mean, that's 25% of your fucking life.
Right. Yeah.
How long have I known you, Henry?
We've known each other now 13 years.
Longer than Coogan and Bryden. Does that make our friendship better?
I would think so.
Does that make the franchise better than the trip?
Come, Mr. Bond. The franchise, you derive as much pleasure from recording the franchise as I do.
God, I've so rarely related to a character more than Coogan reacting to Bryden doing impressions.
I thought of you instantly.
I thought of you constantly during these movies because this was a Henry pick.
It's a buddy movie too, and there are aspects of both of us, I think, in both.
No,
people.
I think it's you. You're both people.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like, I related to Coogan at times, but I'm watching this movie going like, this is a movie about Henry talking to himself.
See, that's so funny because I mean, that shows how well we know each other, because I was thinking, like, I bet Dan's not gonna see me in the Steve Coogan character at all, but I really do see myself a lot in the Steve Coogan.
No, of course you're that guy, because, like, when we hang out, Henry, like, as friends in person, yeah, I'm much more of a yapper. Like, I'll talk all fucking day, and Henry, like, will talk back at me, but he's a more taciturn person. Like, he tends to, like, listen and make jokes and pitch in, and he'll be driving with me and listening to music. But in general, like, Henry's a quieter dude than I am. Like, Henry's just, like, he just wants to sit in his garage with, like, his vape pen and a book. So, like, in that way, I saw a lot of fucking Coogan in you. Because he tends to be the quieter one, except when they go see that limestone and he wants to explain about it. We'll talk about it. I have so much to say. I love these movies. I loved the first one a lot. So where was I? So that's the way you're Coogan, but you're like Bryden in that you're the way your comedy mind works is very much just like anything anyone says, you just like immediately respond to it however you want, and you're looking for opportunities to do impressions. I know you're looking. So if somebody mentions Michael Caine over the course of Henry's day, that is a gift to Henry.
True.
It's an incredible gift to you, because you'll and it was so funny to me that Rob Brydon made fun of Michael Caine impressions that start with, "I'm Michael Caine," because you fucking do that.
I'm Michael Caine. Rob Brydon says that?
Yeah, Rob Brydon says that.
It gets confusing.
Because he says to Coogan, like, oh, what's your impression going to be? Oh, I'm Michael Caine.
Yes. And I also just, not for this just to be a total love fest, but, why not? But I also love the way that they, like, have the criticism of each other that like we'll have, but it'll be sometimes it's like passive aggressive and sometimes it's like just right out there when it's just like when Coogan's like tells him like, I like entertaining, but I'm more concerned about, getting to the humanity of it. Whereas I'm perfectly willing to concede, you're a better entertainer, and Brian's like, yeah, I am a better entertainer, but they're just
there's that moment in
so funny.
There's a moment in Trip to Italy where Brydon is saying like, do you think either of us will be remembered in 200 years? And Coogan's is like, well, if one of us, it would probably be me, and I'd probably be remembered for this. But then we also see Coogan in his bathroom doing that, like, small man in a box thing, like, trying to do, which is sort of a revealing moment for the character that he's playing. Before we get too deep into the movies, I just want to individually talk about Michael Winterbottom, Steve Coogan, and Rob Brydon, because I think they're the heart of the thing. And, I mean, there isn't too much to discuss in terms of stats. Like, they put this fucking thing together. It aired on BBC. It aired in theaters. It didn't make a lot of money, but, like, it did all right. It made $3.9 million, about $4 million worldwide, which is, I guess, enough for them. And it probably does well on the BBC over there because Coogan is a bigger star over there than he is here. The thing about Steve Coogan, I've avoided watching these movies.
Right.
I haven't even told you this because you're a fan of them and you've been suggesting them to the show for years. I never wanted to watch these.
Why is that now?
I don't really... I was doing some soul searching watching this because, like, I started the movie and I literally texted Henry 7 minutes into the movie saying, like, yeah, I love this. This is for me.
Right.
And, like, I could tell already. And I think in my head, I don't like Steve Coogan. But I'm wrong. There's like I think it's because he often plays very grotesque kind of characters.
Yeah.
Like, he's not afraid to make himself look insane and ugly and weird. I feel like he's got...
See, you've seen him in more than I have. I've only seen him in...
But I didn't even realize that I have. And like...
Yeah.
Because I've kind of avoided him the last few years in realizing that I didn't really like him. And so many people have so much love and respect and allegiance towards that Alan Partridge character he did for all those years. And
who I've never even
never seen a second of it. I've never seen a clip of Alan Partridge.
Me neither.
And
I didn't either.
I understand that's probably like sacrilege to like Brits or something. Like that's like a huge deal show in England. I'm Alan Partridge. And he still fucking pulls it out on like talk shows and whatever. So like I don't know him from that. I don't really know him from anything. Like, he's been in some stuff that's made it over here. He mentions in the movie he was in Tropic Thunder, and I was like, oh, right, yeah, he was in Tropic Thunder.
That's what I did when he said it. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, the guy in the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, I remember him in The Loop. He's good in Coffee and Cigarettes, but, like, I had to really think about it.
Oh, that's right.
And so, like, I went through his filmography, and I was like, what do I have against this guy? And I just, like, found a couple of TV roles where, like, I found him annoying or something. And he's done a couple of weird things where when Philip Seymour Hoffman died, Philip Seymour Hoffman was supposed to be in this Showtime show called Happy-ish. He was going to star on this show.
For the show.
And then when he died, they replaced him in the cast with Steve Coogan. And I was like, really? Steve Coogan's gonna replace Philip Seymour Hoffman? Good luck, fucking Showtime. And I never tuned into like a single episode. And so like there's all this weird shit I've held against him. And then I'm looking through his filmography and I see 24-Hour Party People. Which
I've never seen.
Yeah, that's like a little movie he did about the Manchester indie music scene in the early 80s with the Smiths are mentioned, but it's way more about Joy Division and that whole crew. So then I'm like, oh yeah, 24-Hour Party People. I fucking love that movie, and Steve Coogan's great in it. And then I'm looking up that movie, and I see Rob Brydon's name, and I'm like, oh fuck, this guy was in that movie too. That's probably where they met or something. And then I realized Michael Winterbottom directed it.
Yeah, he did. I
was like, what the fuck? Like, why don't I love all these people?
Right.
And so, like, then I was looking up Michael Winterbottom, and it's like, I've never seen any of this fucking guy's movies. He's so prolific. He makes like 2 movies a year, and like I've just never bothered to watch any of them. And I think I like British shit and I like British comedy, but they make stuff that sounds like the bad kind of British comedy. And it probably isn't. But there's that like fucking Benny Hill ass broad bullshit British comedy. You know, are you being served? Not Are You Being Served? Only Fools and Horses Christmas special or whatever the fuck.
They have their comedic culture over there just that we have over here. You know, like our broad shit. And they have their broad shit. And I can understand lumping that in together. I always thought maybe one of the reasons that you avoided the trip was just because it looked like something like that. Something very contrived. The cover's not very good. It doesn't look like something that would be very appealing. I watched it on a total lark. I rented it, I guess, a couple of years before we had the show, maybe right, and didn't really know anything about it. It just looked kind of funny, and I had no expectations. And then I started like pissing myself, laughing like in the first. I'm like, oh, this is fucking hilarious. And then I just the other 1 or 2 were out maybe, so maybe it wasn't. Maybe we were doing a show. I don't remember, but. And I was just kind of, oh, this is great. I'm sorry this didn't kind of catch with other people, but I can see that it
did though. I remember when this first came out, people loved it.
See, I don't remember when this came out.
We were in Barnes and Noble. I remember when this DVD came out. It sold.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember at all, man. At all.
People dug it, man. Like, and I think I like lumped it into that crew. Like it came out around the same time. Like Downton Abbey was really huge, and I was like judging customers, like, oh, these fucking Brit wannabes, like these stupid. What are they called? You know, they love it. They love British Anglophile.
Oh, Anglophiles. Yeah,
it took me a second.
We used to get a lot of those in New York. We used to get a lot of people.
Yeah, they come in. They think they're fucking like. They think they're like these effete, classy people, and then they come in. They're like, "Do you have Inspector Lewis?" And I'm like, "Sure. Watch your British TV procedurals."
Right. It wasn't just a store thing. We have it in this country with like even. I've always found it to be, and this is me being very, very prejudiced, but like anytime I run across an American who like loves soccer, and I'm just like,
well, there was a lot of that this week, man. Do you know that you fucking predicted the Euros?
I'm sorry, I predicted what?
Do you know that the Euros were this weekend?
No.
Okay. Henry, it's amazing that you don't know this. It's the biggest thing in Europe. It's the Euro finals. Like all the soccer teams worldwide. It's like the World Cup basically, but Italy won, and it came down at the very end. Italy versus England. All right. I had people in the Discord, including Sinisa, going like, "Fuck, this is wild." Watching the trip. We're just like learning of the cultures of the finalists of the Euros.
That's so bizarre, man. That is really weird. England and Italy. I have the best, and I have the best punchline for how I know that. You want to know how I know that Italy won that? The only reason I know.
Because you're Italian, and you learned at the someone told you at the meeting, at the mob meeting. You're in the mob, right?
Yeah. I can't really talk about that on air, but yeah.
Are you a made man?
The next ceremony we're hoping to
when's the next ceremony?
Well, if I was going to invite you and some friends, but I feel like in case something should go awry, you might want to stay away.
Can I hand you your made man chip?
Yeah, but I gotta be real careful about I gotta accept it in a real public place.
Where are you gonna have it?
Probably like a phone booth.
A phone? No. You want to have it in like an actual. I say Chuck E. Cheese. All right, you go visit Charles Entertainment Cheese, and he'll let you know what's up.
I think they allow guns in Chuck E. Cheese now. So
are you kidding me? There's definitely guns. I've walked by Chuck E. Cheeses. They are the most disgusting places on the planet Earth.
Oh, no, I found out the reason I was going to say it was a punchline is because the only reason I know about that is because I was watching BBC World News. Oh. Because I watch it
with me, Jim Lehrer.
No, Jim Lehrer's American. And
he's dead. Right. He's dead?
Yeah.
Well, that's sad. I used to watch.
He's great.
It was the BBC report, though. Like that's why I got that confused. He hosted a PBS show called
the McNeil Lehrer Report.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's all coming back to me now. I had to watch that in a high school history class every week.
Oh, well. Yeah. And he was a great presidential moderator, debate moderator. Those fucking days are gone. Now
what are you talking about? I love all the debate moderators. They're all great.
Great reporters. Mm-hmm. Real Walter Cronkites. But yeah, so that's how I know, which is very funny. But anyway, I was the same way with soccer people because I remember in New York, anywhere really, when people would come to me, they always talked about it like as if they were speaking to me of a sport greater than I could comprehend.
Yeah. And that you're lesser than for not understanding its greatness.
Correct.
And it's funny because like I went.
Don't talk about it like that.
What?
Europeans don't talk about soccer in a snobby way.
No. It's purely a phenomenon with Americans that get into it, and it's not even like Americans that are into like World Cup. Like those are normal people. It's always the Americans that are like, I love Manchester United, and then then like there's always an even snobbier person that's like only basic people like Manchester United. I'm into Croydon. Or I don't know. Do they even have...
I don't like Team Italy. I'm for Milan. Just Milan. Just the city's team. That's my team. Yeah, okay. Sure you are.
And anytime an American tells you that they're a fan of Arsenal, it's because they read about it in a Nick Hornby book.
Oh, my God.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God. Come, Mr. Ehrenberg. You derive as much pleasure from soccer as I do.
I mean, I think I derive more than you do. You seem to really hate soccer.
Come, Mr. Bond.
Stop quoting. It is exhausting to be friends with somebody who's good at impressions and likes to do them.
As I do.
What?
Come.
You need to. I mean, what are you even doing? I was watching that and. Like they both were pretty confident in their Connery and Roger Moore impressions, and I
want your opinions on their accuracy. Yeah. But go ahead.
They faltered though when trying to do Pierce Brosnan, and I wondered if you had a Pierce Brosnan.
No, I don't have a Pierce Brosnan. Mm-hmm. The worst impression by far. It's not even fucking close. So I know you're going to agree with me on this. Bryden's Pacino.
Yeah, it's not good. He thinks it's good. It's because he can't really do the American accent, and so it confuses the whole impression.
It's not good. His
De Niro's really horrible too. Although Coogan's is good.
I didn't think Coogan's was good at all.
Coogan's De Niro?
I think that was good at all.
I thought it was very good when he does it when he has the two girls at the table.
Table.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh boy, I didn't think that was good at all. And I have to say, generally, when they're competing, I actually found Coogan's impressions to be a bit better, like his Roger Moore.
They're less practiced, is the thing, and that's in that way I related to Coogan because I'm the type of guy that like.
Because you're a very good impressionist too.
But I don't do them that much, and I don't practice them. I just know that there's a couple people that I can hold my own with, and so it's like I'll hang out with Henry, and he'll be doing impressions all day, annoying the shit out of me. But then I'm a hypocrite because the second somebody comes up that I can do, I jump right in there and start competing with you.
And I love it when he does it because it's hilarious. Yeah, no. I think the Michael Caines are both excellent and hilarious observations.
When they brought it back in Trip to Italy, and Bryden was talking about that Batman Dark Knight Rises conversation, which is happening. I mean, the second one came out in 2014. Dark Knight Rises came out in 2012. It's like an immediate review of the movie by the Trip Bros, and they're so funny when they're like speaking into their wine, doing the voice. And so they talked shit about Christian Bale's Sibilant S. Which
I thought of you when they did that.
Oh my god, what a joy to hear for me.
That was hilarious. The talking into the wine is I lose my shit. But they also did that now. Did they do that in that, or because they do it when they're doing the Come Come, Mr. Bond?
I know I'm confusing it. Yeah, I'm thinking of that because in the second one, at least at first, Coogan's not drinking.
Right. In when they do the Come Come, Mr. Bond 3,000 times, they go into the wine.
How many times are you gonna say Come Come, Mr. Bond on this episode?
I'll be gonna say it for the rest of the time that
This isn't even a Bond episode we're doing.
I'm going to be doing it for a long time to come, so it's going to join Slip in the Boss. So you're going to have to get used to it. That's kind of the way it goes. But yeah, I thought the Richard Burton, the Ian McKellen. I mean, their impressions in general are fantastic. They're all really, really good. But I love the way they describe the degeneration of Michael Caine's voice. It's so fucking funny. Like, you just don't even...
Well, yeah, Bryden's saying, like, most people, when they do Michael Caine, they do Italian Job Michael Caine. He starts doing that. But his voice has gotten tired. You can hear the wear and the cigarettes and whiskey. Yeah, it's interesting. I heard Dana Carvey on, I want to say Mark Maron. It might have been Comedy Bang Bang. And he was going through, like, his classic impressions and, like, walking through the mechanics of them. And it was like that. Like, it was the closest thing I've seen to that in like, real life.
Yeah. I remember once seeing Daryl Hammond explain how he got Al Gore. Because someone asked him, that must have been hard. He said, it's the hardest thing I ever had to do.
Really? I think the hardest thing he ever had to do was not die when he tried to kill himself.
Well, that was difficult as well. Great documentary on Netflix about him, by the way.
Oh, that's right. Should I watch that?
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's tough to watch.
But is it good? Like, is it a good movie?
Yes.
Because, like, I'm interested in Daryl Hammond, but, like, not so much that I'm going to watch some bullshit.
I would have hated it if it's no. He's deeply involved in it. He's very, very personal. It's very, very good.
Which movie is it? There's two.
I reviewed it on Letterboxd. I don't remember what it's called.
Oh, here, you gave it 4. It's Cracked Up, the Daryl Hammond story.
Very good. But he was, like, talking about the mechanics of that impression specifically, where he was just, like, breaking down, like, he couldn't nail Al Gore because it was just nothing there. And then he just kind of landed on this tiny little lisp that he could hear Al Gore do. And that was just the key to it.
I can do an Al Gore. Do you want to hear it?
Always.
I have an Al Gore in my arsenal.
Want to hear it?
Here.
Then I'll. Oh, he took the glasses
Hang on,
off.
I have to do a face for it.
All right, I like it. All right.
I have an Al Gore in my arsenal, Tipper. Do you want to hear my Al Gore, Tipper? This is me. I'm the vice president of these United States. What do you think?
I think it's not bad. So I think it's not bad at all. So here we go. Here we go. Is my Al Gore. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take my glasses off too. What we should be doing is taking this part of the Social Security benefit and putting it inside of a lockbox. That's what my opponent opposes.
That's what you do it better. It's too different.
Deeper.
Yeah,
I can go deep.
And you're better at the accent. Your accent work is better than mine.
The Tennessee accent is different than the other type of Southern accents.
The Tennessee accent.
Yeah, there you go. Right. All right, you have to do one time. You have to try to do this line, okay?
Okay.
This is just fun. We're having fun tonight. You've got to say you were only supposed to blow the bloody doors off.
What? What? That's Michael Caine.
The one they say like 300 times.
You want me to say that as Al Gore?
No. You were only supposed to blow off the bloody door.
You were only supposed to blow the bloody doors off, Tipper.
Everything's the Tipper.
Yeah.
I'm not going to bury another Batman. I'll bury 14 Batmans.
Hey, Tommy Lee, do you want to go to the frat party with me tonight? I heard there's going to be some wasted chicks there.
You know what? I'm not going to go to it. It's no outhouse, hen house, farmhouse. You start out whatever you want to do.
Frat house.
Gonna be my thing. Frat house, outhouse, farmhouse, hen house. You gonna run for president? I'll speak for you, maybe.
All right.
Blow the.
Well, listen. You said we are having fun tonight.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. People are going to enjoy it. So, I'm not finished.
Oh, excuse me.
Remember when he does the impression and Coogan keeps interrupting him? And
come on.
Remember that?
Oh, yeah, and he says, well, he talks slowly, so you have to be patient.
I'm not fucking finished. You were only supposed to blow the bloody doors off.
All right. I want to talk about women.
That wasn't good at all.
All right.
I'm going to up my game.
Can I talk about the ladies?
The ladies of the trip.
No, I'm not even. Just the ladies of the world in general.
Oh, okay.
I would like all the women listening to the program to watch this movie. Specifically women, because how do I talk about this without coming across weird?
I think I know where you're going.
Okay, so in 2016, I'll always remember the day at the afternoon. I had been to a boozy brunch. I wasn't sober yet, with my girlfriend Katie, and on our way back, we got notifications on our phone that there's been a tape released. Access Hollywood leaked it. Trump talking to Billy Bush, and he's going through all the shit about how, you know, when you're famous, they let you do anything to them. You grab them by the pussy. Yeah. He said it's also the one I like to. People always bring up the grab the pussy line, but I like to talk about how he says, "I moved on her like a bitch."
Right.
Because it's just such a weird thing to say. It's something nobody has ever said in the history of mankind except for Donald Trump to Billy Bush that day.
Right. There you go.
He moved on her like a bitch.
Yeah.
So then the discourse later that day became the Republicans defending it as simple locker room talk between two men. That's what men sound like. That's when they're in the locker room, at the gym. This is how they talk, you know? If you're uncomfortable with that, that's why we don't do it in front of women. We do it in the locker room amongst bros. And
I know where you're going. I just want to throw this in there. It's an important distinction too. It doesn't make it better.
Everyone knows where I'm going.
Right. Well, I think I know where you're going to end up, which I'm in agreement with. But the other thing that I feel that too many people also ignored was that fuck wasn't even saying things like guys do say that are like, oh, I would like to get with her.
Right.
Oh, wouldn't you love to get? He was saying, I do this. I force myself on them. You can kiss them. You can grab them.
Yeah.
So now we're saying that locker room talk is involving guys literally saying they are forcibly putting themselves upon women. I mean, it was fucking insane.
So I mean, I'm not the most sensitive person in the world, and my girlfriend at the time turned to me and asked, I think sincerely, it seemed totally earnest, is that what guys talk about alone? And I don't think she believed it to be true, but she was just asking, like, is that how raw the talk gets? Like, it's worse than any of us women know? And that scared me. That thought could go through the head of an intelligent person.
Yeah, I know it did.
So if there are women in the world that think that any normal human grown man talks like either of those fucks did in that video, right, it just ain't true. And right, to me, if you want a good illustration of what intelligent grown men sound like when they're alone, when they're in the locker room, when they're driving somewhere together, when they're on the train, when they're playing video games, when they're at a game, this is what it sounds like. Cracking jokes, talking about pop culture, doing impressions, ripping on each other, getting, like, occasionally getting real, but not usually. Usually it's pretty surface, we admit.
Yeah.
But, like, this, to me, I'm watching The Trip, and I'm like, this is maybe the purest distillation of adult male friendship I've ever seen in a movie.
It's very, very true. And I actually did think you were going another place as well, which you didn't because you probably forgot. But shortly after that incident, we recorded the Jaws episodes, and you said on air then a similar thing on a much heavier.
I don't remember at all.
Yeah. On our episode, you said that the scene on the boat with Quint Scheider, that is how men talk.
I agree. And I love that movie because it's about male friendship too. And I think that is like a struggle. It's what the word representation is very big in entertainment right now. And mostly what it means is that people of color have been underrepresented on screen for years and years and years and years. And I'm not saying that any white men have ever been underrepresented on screen, because we are like 99% of the stories being told. But I do think that one-on-one, healthy, adult male friendship has not been shown that much.
Right.
Like, you get shit like buddy movies, like Wedding Crashers or The Hangover or something, and you watch soaps and stuff. Dawson and Pacey are friends, but ultimately they fight over a woman. And most friendships aren't like that.
Well, and in movies that have a lot of movies do have scenes that contain phenomenal brotherly moments, male friendship moments. There's innumerable, countless ones where I'm sitting and I'll be watching, I'll be like, oh wow, they really nailed the way guys talk to each other. This is an extended, like, entire movie where it feels so
because it's largely, it's improvised.
Yeah, right. So it doesn't feel like the scene doesn't get set up and then you're like, you have, even if it's 2 seconds of anticipation, we're like, oh, okay, this is going to be the scene where they're going to get into the real stuff here. It doesn't do that. It's just the way they're talking, and that's because that's the way we talk. That's how it works in life. And
the two of them are friends in real life. They are
right.
they have such an easy friend chemistry with each other.
Right. And I mean, it's like when Dan and I would go to the fucking cottage, this is exactly what that would be. We would sit down, we'd make fun of the menu, we would comment on the fucking food. We would, I mean, that's what we did. It was fucking nonsense. And then we would just like, that's what it was. And if that was put on film, that's what this would be. It's the same thing. There's no feeling that it's being doctored or tailored.
It's not like that hasn't been tried before, though. Like, there have been movies like that and that have not been successful, that have been boring. But this happens to be funny. To respect the craft at play here as well. Like, I do think that it helps that they are friends in real life and that it's improvised and that the story is so incredibly low stakes. Like, that all helps to illustrate the male friendship or whatever. But I think it helps that you have Michael Winterbottom, who's like a total fucking pro. Yes. And really, the underlying theme of friendship in the movie is incredibly well drawn out. Like, the idea that he wants to be there without he initially, Coogan intends to go with his girlfriend, who cancels, and then he has to go with this dude at the last minute.
And he says something kind of mean too. If you don't listen real carefully, you don't catch it, but you'll recall probably in the beginning when he calls Rob Brydon on the phone, he says he asked Misha to go with him, and she can't because she's in America. And then he says, and I've called a bunch of other people, and they all couldn't do it, or they all said no, so now I called you. And it's thrown off, and Rob kind of just is like, okay, well, yeah, I'll go. And it's like, you wonder after the two movies if he's saying that as a defense mechanism so he can kind of say to Rob Brydon, like, you know what, just so you know, you weren't my second choice. You were like my ninth.
Oh, like, well, Coogan in this first one comes across as like a really self-centered, really sensitive guy who is constantly fearing embarrassment.
He's melancholy. He's a melancholy character. But my
he's recently broken up. He has like a kid that he doesn't see as much as he'd probably like. He's struggling with his career. He's like his agent Ben Stiller weirdly calls and offers him a role in an American
the Ben
procedural.
Stiller no, the Ben Stiller thing's just a dream sequence. He's not his agent.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
That's a dream sequence. But then later he gets a call from his agent on the phone, and it's Ben Stiller's voice.
Are you sure?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I
thought it was Ben Stiller's voice.
Pretty sure Ben Stiller's Ben Stiller in this movie. But
you're right. You know what? In the credits, he was listed as Ben Stiller Yeah. Anyway, that was a funny scene. All the dream sequences were funny, which I wasn't sure how I'd feel about them because the movie is so fucking verite in some ways that I wasn't sure that like that sort of narrative.
There's not too many of them.
No, and they're all funny, and they structured the film in terms of days of the week, and so it's very easy to just do one of those at the beginning of a day of the week.
Yeah, right. I also find the way he speaks to his son to be very natural, like very nice, like the way his son's been whatever. He's like a young teenager. He finds out that he's been drinking. The mother asks him to talk to him about just being rowdy and all that shit. And he's just great in the way he kind of is like being a dad that's connected to his son in a way, but also disconnected from just physical distance at a lot of his life. And so he's kind of just like, come on, man, just, you can't do that stuff. You know, I'm here, but you know, like it's not overdone. It's not like there's an uncomfortable, like, well, he doesn't know how to talk to this kid. No,
they could have done so many things like that. Like Coogan could have not known how to talk to him. The kid could have been like a dicky teenager who just wants nothing to do with his absentee father. And like I thought that's where they were going with it at first, and then they talk for a little while, and then once they get through the actual problem, like the kid says to the dad, like to Coogan, "I miss you," and that's like a really nice human moment. And then the fact that we revisit the kid in the second one and actually get to see him, I actually think adds a lot of energy to the movie when it's flagging a bit in the final third.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but
these movies are too long. Can we agree on that?
I do not think the first movie is
They're both too long.
I don't think it's 109 minutes. I don't think...
Yeah, that's 100. That's an hour and 50 minutes for an improvised comedy. No, 90 minutes. 90 minutes flat.
No, I'm fine. It could be done in 90, sure. But the second one, I felt it a little bit. I did, but
there's less of a strong through line in the second. The second one was a tad disappointing to me. I still liked it quite a bit, but I think it's much lesser than the first one.
I think that the second one has its strong points, though, because it has equally great sequences, equally great scenes, and it even, like, some of the self-referential stuff that's a little bit meta that I don't generally care for, I thought was very funny. There's one very funny cut where his I don't know what she is. I guess she's like Steve Coogan's like main, what do you want to call her? I don't want to call her secretary. She's a hell of a lot more than that to him. Emma, the one who's pregnant.
Yeah.
A handler.
I got the women. They don't give any women actual characters in these movies.
That much, yeah. And anyway, she's discussing. I believe she's talking about Contempt by Godard.
I thought you meant just the concept of contempt.
No, we can talk about that too, though, if you want. And
I feel it every day.
I know. And they're on the little skiff in Italy, and they're on the boat, and she's talking about how, and she's describing the plot, and then she goes, and there's it's that one with the theme by that very famous composer, and it's beautiful and haunting, but they play it too much, and then immediately they cut to a shot of the big boat, and they play for like the 70th time that Strauss piece that's very beautiful, that's throughout the movie, the soaring sort of
the Blue Danube.
Richard Strauss, the other Strauss.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about. I didn't really recognize the song, the piece.
No, you wouldn't. I know it because I'm a nerd, and it's part of the 4 last songs of Richard Strauss. It's the last work he wrote. It's beautiful, but the point is that they're making fun of their own overusage of this song.
Yeah,
and it's very funny.
Not all of the like, there's meta stuff in the movie, though, and they deal with that a lot because they reference specific projects that both of them have done. But I also appreciated that they used their careers in dramatic ways as well. One thing I particularly enjoyed was that Coogan ends the first movie by turning down this procedural. He's been offered a procedural called Pathology.
Which I looked up because I didn't know where the line was drawn.
It's not a real thing. I think what they're going for is at this point in time, Hugh Laurie was still on House, and they were starting to try to replicate House. So they got Tim Roth to do this show called Lie to Me, where he's a psychologist. Right. There were a million of them at the time, and so I think it was a joke that like Coogan was going to do this, but like it could have just been a throwaway joke. But at the end of the first movie, he has a throwaway line with his agent, which actually means a lot, where he says, "I can't take that. I'm not moving to LA for 7 years. I have a family." Right. So he shoots that down because of his family, which actually means something and says something about the fake Steve Coogan as a character. And then when the trip to Italy picks up like 3 years later or whatever, he immediately says that he's been on that show for like 2 seasons and it just got canceled. So great. Yeah, I thought that was really fascinating. Like that was very smart.
It was smart. It made it less, and it made it like something beyond the story of them reviewing restaurants, which we should probably talk about too. But and their friendship more of a through line. to actually have a continuation of a plot thread that's just part of their lives in the movie, fake Steve Coogan's life, and also we'll get there, I guess, or unless we're just intermingling the two, because frankly, a lot of the conversations have completely
We seem
blurred.
to be starting to. I mean, the trip to Italy came out just like on the heels of this. It was successful, and so they decided to do another one. And the plot is basically, it's amazing. You know, they do a similar thing with Burden, which is
what?
They do an actual similar thing, like what I was saying with Coogan and that TV show with Rob Burden. That's his name?
Rob Brydon.
Brydon, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
And he is, at the end of the movie, the first movie, you see him with his wife.
Right.
And his wife says, like, that was too long. Like, I never want to go that long without you again. And
very sweet.
And he agrees completely, it seems. And like they have a lovely relationship, and part of the point of that scene is to then cut to Steve Coogan alone and sad.
Right.
But I appreciated that in the second movie, it opens with Rob Brydon calling Coogan saying, "Hey, the Observer wants us to do that thing again. Do you want to go?" And then they immediately just agree to go. Like, it's not a story point at all. Like, they're on the trip to Italy like 2 minutes into the movie. And since I watched these back to back, I saw that as a flaw at first. I was like, oh, they fucked up. He said, like, it's bullshit, like, going back on the first movie by now making a sequel where like you go back on that premise that he can't be without his wife, and now he's just like going on a trip again, no problem. But then, over the course of the movie, the arc is less about their friendship and more about their relationships, particularly Brydon's with his wife. And we see him sort of surprise himself at being able to seduce somebody on the road and then actually sleep with her. And then by the end of the movie, he's considering sleeping with her again. And so the marriage that was set up so strongly in the first one is now a couple years later on the rocks. So, but what I found cool about that is that what I thought was a flaw at first glance was actually setting up the main arc of the entire movie. Of course he's able to go without being with his wife now. That relationship, as we learn, has in some way faded, and he's going through some sort of a midlife thing.
Yeah, it obviously the movie is not the kind of movie to delve into a deep discussion of marriage. And one of the reasons,
it's like in the first one, nobody talks about friendship. Like, this is all thematic on the surface.
Right.
In the second one, nobody ever has a deep discussion about marriage.
Right. You don't have to. And you know that it's a strong script and a strong friendship when there's a scene in the car when Coogan probes him just a bit about what happened with the girl, and he says what happened in an oblique way, and
using an impression, of course.
Right, which is another really funny aspect of his character that Coogan constantly annoys Coogan.
When he reads that poem as Ian McKellen, and Coogan says, "Oh, so you sat up all night last night memorizing that poem, and you couldn't do it in your own voice. You had to do it as Ian McKellen." And Brydon says, "I selected that voice to match the moment." I love that shit.
He can't do anything. Coogan maintains that he can't do anything that's at all sincere or tough without being somebody else.
Yeah.
And, it was heartbreaking that he cheated on his wife. The thing is that what's not shown and what has to be inferred is that perhaps, since we haven't seen them for a while, and given when he calls his wife from the hotel room,
she seems distracted.
She's very distracted. She's probably very annoyed that he's gone again. They have a 3-year-old who's crying in the background, and he insists on talking to her in Dustin Hoffman's voice the entire time. And it's just like, You know,
it's a good impression though. His Rain Man is pretty on point.
That is a good impression. That's a good impression of an American that he does. That's the one that I like. But yeah, so these things aren't really discussed too much, but they don't really, like you said, they don't really need to be. It's all right on the level. It's all on the surface. And I mean, just the things.
Well, I think that's what Winterbottom brings. And I don't know who's editing these fucking things, but whoever their team of editors is must be dedicated. I mean, they're almost shooting it like a reality show. Where you'd have to cobble together hours and hours of footage. Honestly, like when I first heard about the trip, like the thing it most reminded me of wasn't a movie. It was that TV show, An Idiot Abroad, about Carl Pilkington traveling the world.
Yeah, you were a big fan of that. I know a lot of people were. I feel like
that was not mentioned when they went through all of the works of Ricky Gervais randomly in the second movie. I was very happy they talked shit about Life's Too Short because that show did suck.
Yeah, that was really fucking funny. By the way, if you want to, our listeners or you, I don't know if you would want to do this, Dan, but this thing on YouTube is very funny, and I think it's all taken from the trip, the first one. And it's just 17 minutes, and it's of the two of them, and I'm pretty sure they're all just like, they're like outtakes, but it's not outtakes. It's like, I think what they just didn't put in the film. Some of it's very similar, some of it's just them having dinner, and there's nothing
alternate takes and shit.
Yeah, but it's not like, it doesn't feel like that. It almost just feels like, oh, well, we have enough of this, so we'll leave this part out.
Right.
But it's all
that's been a YouTube video recommendation from Henry.
It's all gold.
Mm-hmm. Is that good? That's a good YouTube video?
It's fantastic.
I recommend.
It's called Random Impressions.
Do you remember when that chipmunk turned around very dramatically?
I do.
I recommend that.
I do. Well, I mean, we could just recommend YouTube.
I recommend Chocolate Rain and Lazy Sunday, classic YouTube videos.
All right, but I
recommend Two Girls, One Cup.
Okay. By the way, the Anthony Hopkins impersonation is fucking hilarious too. In the trip to Italy, when they're turning around on the ship and you never even see them, you just watch the ship, and he's imitating him in the Bounty, a movie I've never seen.
A lot of their impersonations were from movies I've never seen.
Which is what makes him even funnier. Like, I have never seen The Bounty, but I know Mel Gibson's in it. So at one point, Rob Brydon's screaming at the top of his lungs on the ship, and he goes, "Sail around the horn, Mad Max!"
You know, another moment I liked when he's screaming, at one point he's doing a loud impression in a restaurant, and Coogan just turns to the rest of the restaurant and says, "He's doing an impression."
Yeah. And that's the neat thing on this outtakes thing. The opposite happens. Brydon shushes Coogan like 3 times, and Coogan lowers his voice, and then he just brings it right up again. It's very, very.
I had a little bit of a problem with Coogan's performance in the second one, and I get it. Like, they're having fun and shit, but it's just like, because the through line isn't about the friendship, and they're not really dealing with like their strained friendship. Like, I just feel like they're getting along. What?
Is it strained?
In the first one, it is.
Oh, I thought it was in the second one.
No, I'm saying because we're not dealing with that in the second one. They're just like kind of getting along the whole time.
Yeah.
And so I kind of felt like Coogan was just. It felt to me more like I was watching like like an improvised show on stage or something.
Oh, I didn't feel that. I didn't mind that though. I mean, but you can tell he's looser, right? In the second one, because like when Brydon goes on this long thing about, this is another thing I was going to say when you said you didn't know a lot of the movies you're talking about. We also, I'm sure you and me, we didn't know a lot of the British personalities they were doing. They kept talking about these certain people.
I did. I knew all the presenters.
They did David Frost, of course, and that's.
Oh my God, that was interesting to hear them talk about Michael Sheen in that manner.
Yeah, and how Coogan is like, you can almost sense in real life, like maybe he was a little bitter he didn't get offered that role. You know?
For sure, yeah. What role did he say he lost out on to Michael Sheen?
Frost Nixon, no?
Oh, right. But he says like he's auditioned, like he constantly loses roles.
He's always losing to him. Yeah.
I like and Bryden goes, yeah, he's a great actor, and Coogan won't give him that. He goes, yep, he's very good or something.
But no, there's personalities that are on like these British talk shows, these talk show hosts, and Bryden goes on this long one where he's like interviewing Coogan in a fake way, and Coogan just can't not laugh. And it's one of the few times in either movie where Coogan is clearly being entertained by Rob Brydon's extended impression, and he's not feigning annoyance. Like he's just very entertained.
That happens though. Bryden is clearly a funny guy, and will sometimes. I feel like I would probably have the same relationship with him if we were friends, because I reacted to him this way as a person just watching the movie, where like occasionally he goes on a runner that's brilliant. Like you could tell the guy's got a great comic mind, but he's doing the impressions almost at all times, where like it seems like 90% of the time it's an exhausting crutch that you're being forced to listen to, and then sometimes he comes up with something genius.
I think the best times they're doing the impressions are when they're fighting each other with the impressions. Those are the funniest moments, when they're just trying to show who does it better. And I just think I've never seen anything like that. It's so fucking funny, and it's like just like a duel. And it's very, very good. How about the food? How about the reviewing restaurants is another part of it I love. They know nothing about it. That's fucking great, because I've always kind of thought these food shows are fucking dumb, because they get people who go and they go around to taste things. Who's the latest? They got Stanley Tucci. We've made fun of him before doing this on CNN.
There's a Netflix show that's Phil Rosenthal, the creator of Everybody Loves Raymond, just going around tasting food. It's because it's because of Bourdain. That Bourdain show got too popular.
Of course it did. Yeah. And so now it's like a fucking joke. So everyone's going around, they're eating food, and the way they're talking about the food is just like we would talk about it.
Let me ask you a question. Who would you rather have survived their suicide attempt? Anthony Bourdain or Daryl Hammond?
Oh, that's not that's
a great question, Henry.
That's a bit off color, isn't it?
I loved, by the way, Coogan going on and on about. Wait, no, was it Bryden that was saying the northern part of England, like the north, Manchester has like as much of an identity as Wales?
Yeah, Bryden stops him and he's like,
You're saying that the north of England has as much of a personality.
That's fucking great. And he says that he wishes he'd had Misha with him because he wanted to take her on a tour of the north. And Brian's like, from Manchester? You went to show her the crime, the gun crime?
You could go into all the chip shops. And
yeah, and he's like, and then Coogan leaves it alone. Like, as soon as Brian's like, this has more character than Wales.
Coogan knows Bryden has him there.
He's like, okay, all right, yeah, I guess that's stupid.
Oh, good stuff, Henry.
Let's talk about the Alanis Morissette thing.
Wait, I wanted to talk about the food. You blew right by me because I like a lot of those shows.
Oh, so sorry.
Listen,
yes.
I'm a fan of food shows. I watch every episode of Top Chef. I've seen all the seasons. Now, I do think it's annoying when people talk too much about food. Sometimes when I'm eating dinner with somebody and all the conversation of the dinner, like the discussion, is just about what we're eating, it drives me insane. But in general, I'm interested in food, and I like food, and I think that cooking is an interesting art form that I know nothing about and that I'm not good at. And so I find it fascinating to watch great chefs make great food. And I did find some of the food in these movies particularly in the fucking second one that just made me want to eat fucking ravioli.
Oh God.
Was delicious looking, but I appreciated their dismissive reactions to some of them. The part, I think maybe my favorite reaction to any food was when Coogan, they got those cocktails, and he's like, it's delightful, but it has the consistency of glue, and he says it like. And he says it right as the waiter is coming back to the table, and then immediately switches to respectfulness. It's really good.
Yeah, it's a bit like snot.
Yeah. Hey man, these movies are good. I gotta say, I recommend the first one to folks wholeheartedly. Like, I really was great watching it. I felt like I found a new favorite. I will rewatch it. Really funny movie. The second one, I think if you're embarking on the trip and you want to watch all of the trips, watch it. But I would not recommend it as just like a one-off movie. Like, I don't think it works necessarily. I enjoyed it, and I think it has so many bits that I'm gonna give it a positive grade, and I feel good about it. And I'll probably rewatch this at some point too. But I can't. It felt like a sequel. Sequels aren't as good as the originals. I don't know if you knew that, Henry. But this one followed in that trend.
Yeah.
When they talk about Godfather 2, which is another great scene in the second one, which is very meta, they don't get away with it because the sequel's not as good as the original.
Well, no, but that's one of the funniest things because they say... Who is it? Brian says it.
It's amazing that you like this because when we watched Scream 2 and they had a similar discussion about are there any sequels that are better than the originals, you called it too meta and it really annoyed you. And now they're doing it in another sequel and you're positive about it. What's different?
The delivery is so different. They couldn't be possibly more worlds apart. It's so self-consciously done in Scream that you know you're in this universe already. So it's okay that they're talking about it, and I actually thought that some of that stuff was okay. But this is not... the two movies are just in a completely different universe. I mean, this is natural discussion, a la Curb Your Enthusiasm type thing, and Scream is just not...
That's good at male friendship too, by the way. Larry and Jeff. The show in general is so much about plot that like it doesn't sit there and you don't get to see the conversations play out the same way you do in these movies.
It doesn't marinate. You have to get to know Jeff and Larry's friendship over the multiple seasons, and they only have little screen time together. But it's
the way they play off each other is so natural.
It's all about how the people play off each other, and that's how I think. You know, this works so well. Can you imagine if this movie, if they didn't work together and they did not have a good report, there'd be it's over.
They've made a million movies like that. You never saw a fucking buddy comedy where the buddies don't have chemistry? Because I've seen The Other Guys.
Of course. And that's what I'm saying. In this movie. And another thing I just want to say too is that I had forgotten. I've only seen this one. I've only seen them each once, but well,
now twice, right?
Right, correct. And I had completely forgotten about the Alanis Morissette conversation, which I found extremely funny because it's not that long. Like it comes back.
It's longer than you think it's gonna be.
Well, it comes back maybe too much, but when they're talking through one of her songs and they're commenting on her lyrics.
Coogan is going through and responding to every lyric, and it's amazing.
He would do. And I don't even just mean you and me, but me and a friend or you and a friend. Like you're and you like there's no way we haven't had that conversation.
One of my favorite bits ever in the Ricky Gervais radio show that he used to do with Stephen Merchant and Carl Pilkington is them listening to the song Wonderful Tonight by Eric Clapton and responding to all the lyrics and trying to decide what's happening in the song. It's incredible.
That would be great. Yeah.
It's available on YouTube if anyone wants to check it out.
YouTube.
Check out that YouTube video, guys.
Check it out. But I just love when they're like, you know, and I think also now being older, you know, I'm 42, going to be 43 in a week.
Yeah, Henry, did you I wondered. I thought a lot about your age.
I'm sure you did. Yeah.
And so Coogan is 44, pretending to be 41.
He's lying about his age even in that, because he's born in 1965, so he's easily 45 or 46 by the time this movie.
What does he say about the difference between your 30s and 40s in this movie?
Oh.
There was one line, Henry, that really reminded me of you. Like, too much.
Yeah, he says it in the Italy one, I think.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Fuck.
Yeah. Oh well.
I think it's when they're looking at the women. They're both.
Oh, that is what it is. And I thought about you, and I thought about myself. So it's exactly what you're talking about. He's checking out a woman, and he's saying, like, when I was younger, I would look at a woman and she would look back at me. And that was like the only interaction, but it was just like an acknowledgement, like, hey, you're a young, attractive person. I'm a young, attractive person. And like, I can relate to that so much. And then as you get older, that just happens less and less until one day it's gone. And now, like, when you smile at a woman, people are like, what's that sad older man doing alone? Like,
yeah, he definitely, I think, says a line about being in your 20s and 30s and 40s, but I don't remember. I don't remember what it was. But no, what I was trying to say was I like how when they're commenting on the song and they're just like, we all want that girl, you know. We all want that girl who wears her sweater backwards and doesn't care what kind of, you know. And then after a while, it's like, all right, 2 years have gone by, love. Can you put your pants on properly? Can you?
He says, can you put the lids back on these jars?
Christ!
So funny.
Oh my God!
Yeah, he paints her as an American in a bad light, and then Bryden corrects him that she's Canadian.
That's really funny. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's funny too because they're playing album tracks from Jagged Little Pill. Like, eventually they play Hand in My Pocket, but the first two things they play are just random album tracks. I kind of wish there was more music in the movies. Because one of my favorite moments in the first one, and actually I texted you right after this moment, was when they're driving along the English countryside listening to Joy Division. And Bryden goes like, weird choice. and Coogan responds, I hand selected this specifically. A lot of people think of Joy Division as industrial, but it's interesting with this setting, isn't it? And when he said that, I was just like, yeah, I love this. Like, this is a movie for me. Come on.
Yeah, it's so fucking stupid. It's like they're literally like driving in like the fucking rolling hills of Rob Roy, and he puts on Joy Division, and it's just like when they get to Italy, and Bryden is like, he's prepared the iPod list now, and he says, I've got some Verdi, I've got, and Coogan like says right away, he's like, oh, I could do with some Verdi, and he puts in Alanis Morissette. It's like, what are you doing?
I love that shit. Yeah,
great.
All right, these are good movies. We basically took them as one, but what do you give the first one?
Well, it's funny because before this viewing, and of course, as usual, I delete my Letterboxd rating before the show, so listeners won't be able to spoil themselves. I had given it a 4, which means I guess it had kind of stuck in my mind as not quite a 5.
Oh, and now he's going 5.
Going 5.
Of course he is.
I don't know why I wouldn't. You know,
because it's a 4. Because it's not quite that good.
It's just, but you know what? It's just such a joy. It's like so much fucking fun, and it made me laugh so hard,
too long,
so frequently. That I just like the conceit, and I like that it's even talking it through with you today.
Okay. Like, well, how about this? Try my LVP on for size.
Yeah, because I'm struggling.
I have one, and it's a flaw. I think a flaw in the movie that we have not discussed. And so listen to this, and then tell me if this doesn't bother you and that it's a 5. I think there is a disconnect in tone when we cut away to Steve Coogan's girlfriend or ex, or on the verge of being an ex or whatever.
Yeah, like a separate, yeah.
There is an exasperation in that character where she just seems totally frustrated by Coogan, and when he tries to tell her something, she just goes like, like she sighs loudly, and she just comes across like kind of an asshole.
She does.
And I think that is broader than anything else in this movie and comes from a worse movie.
Okay.
So she's my LVP. And I think I don't want to blame the character, or I mean the actress. I want to blame Winterbottom, because it's up to you. She's filming those scenes in isolation. Right. They're all phone calls. And it's up to you to make sure she's matching the pitches that have been established by our two main actors. And I don't think she is. I think she's bigger.
Yeah, that's interesting. I can see that, sure. I easily agree with that, because she's just simply not drawn well. It's not, the female characters that are given are sort of just male fantasies.
Absolutely.
I'll say that. There's one, in Italy, he meets the beautiful Italian blonde on the beach, and they sleep together. Rob Brydon does. And in the original, he meets Magda, the hotel hostess, who's like this gorgeous.
And those didn't bother me as much, though, because we don't need to know about them. Like Coogan is semi-famous in these movies, so I never bristled at like Coogan getting laid when I think the woman is hotter than him or something.
Right.
So I don't know. The only one that bothered me.
She should be a big character. She should be an important character.
I think that the wife of Bryden is painted so sympathetically and so real that we should give the same respect to the woman Coogan's talking to, and we don't.
I agree.
All right, so I give it a 4.
Is it just because of that, or you just
and it's too long?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't mind the length, and it's going to be 5. LVP, I'll go with Misha. I think that's very, very, very true, what you said. MVP, we're going to have a lot of time to be doing this, and I figured I'd just flip with you. But I guess I think I'll go with, in this one, I think I'm going to go with my MVP as Coogan.
It's Cougs in this one. I'm a Cougs fan now. I think I'm going to seek out other Cougs work. You know what else I want to do? Hey, British listeners, I think Michael Winterbottom is a bigger deal where you are. I remember that movie, Tristram Shandy, a cock and bull story being a big deal. Right. Somebody give me 3 or 4 Michael Winterbottom movies I haven't seen that are the good ones. Because he's made so many fucking movies.
Well, here's the ones I've seen just to see.
I've literally only seen 24-Hour Party People. So what have you seen?
I've seen.
And I've seen Jude with Kate Winslet.
I never saw that, which is
pretty
crazy
good
because I love Thomas Hardy and Tom Hardy.
Yeah. Return of the Baintive. That was a terrible joke. Good stuff. Good stuff. I know you can. I've heard you do that all night.
I will do it all night. The Killer Inside Me with Casey Affleck is a fucked up movie that's very good with Kate Hudson.
That looks good. I'm adding that right now.
Yeah,
you by John Curran.
Look at the cast, too. Weirdo fucking cast. Yeah.
All right, The Killer Inside Me.
Yeah, good movie.
Add to lists. It's the same length. He only makes movies of this length, huh?
That's all he does. It's a code. Speaking of codes, I saw a very mediocre 2-star with Samantha Morton and Tim Robbins called Code 46.
That's Tim Robbins on the cover of that movie. I've seen that cover so many times. I've always thought that's John C. Reilly. He looks like John C. Reilly on the cover of that fucking movie.
I can see it. And then he did an excellent movie, which is next to The Trip, or along with it, the best thing I've seen, called Every Day, which is very grim sort of movie that was an experimental film that he filmed it in real time over 5-year period. So he would shoot, come back, because it's about a prison sentence, and he wanted to.
Jesus Christ! Yeah,
it's hardcore. You see it? Yeah.
Nobody's ever seen this fucking thing except you. I'm gonna add it to the list.
Really, the great Shirley Henderson. She's really a powerhouse.
The great Shirley Henderson. What? She gets a great? She's fucking Moaning Myrtle.
She is Moaning Myrtle. She is in a lot of stuff. She's great. And what else?
Moaning Myrtle.
Moaning Myrtle.
I hang out in this hot tub in the women's bathroom for some reason.
Hot tub?
What was it? Wasn't there a scene where, like, Harry's shirtless in a hot tub, and he's like, how the fuck do I swim underwater in the Triwizard Tournament? And Moaning Myrtle's like, well, try gillyweed or something.
And then I'm surprised, I'm looking at it again, I didn't realize how many movies of Steve Coogan's I've seen.
Yeah, I'm telling you, nobody knows. This guy's in everything.
Dude, I've seen him in Tropic Thunder, Coffee and Cigarettes, Philomena, which is great.
Stop it. Philomena's great.
It's a movie I saw. I didn't want to like it. It's the kind of movie I really didn't want to like, but I saw it before the Oscars noms that year.
Yeah.
I was like, holy fuck, this is really good. Stephen Frears, man, who directed it. So.
Yeah, he's good. You know, Winterbottom directed that movie where Angelina Jolie's black. That always put me off the guy, too.
Where Angelina Jolie's black?
What, you never saw that fucking movie? A Mighty Heart.
She's black in that movie?
She is playing a person of mixed race, a real-life person, and they absolutely tinted her skin slightly for that role.
That's great. Why didn't they get Dolezal? Because she is black.
Oh my god, they should have gone Dolezal. Where's Rachel Dolezal's fucking entertainment deal? She should have a Netflix deal.
I saw him in Coogan and Our Idiot Brother. That was funny. I recall liking that. I laughed.
It's all right.
What Maisie Knew, which Dan
stop it.
Shepherds and Butchers, a great movie.
See, this is why every movie he's in sounds boring to me.
And The Dinner with with your boy Richard Gere and Laura Linney and Rebecca Hall.
Oh, I'm listening. That sounds good. Hey, I saw this new trailer for this movie Rebecca Hall's in. That looks pretty good. She wrote and directed a movie.
Yes. What is it? I think someone told me.
It's called Passive or Passing, something like that.
Yeah. Did you ever watch Christine, by the way? A movie that seems to have
about the killer car?
Well, yeah, it's obviously on my top 100 horror movies. No, a movie that seems to have coincidentally caught on Letterboxd after I had reviewed it many years ago.
No, I've only seen the John Carpenter film and the New Adventures of Old Christine. I've seen every episode of that.
All right. Anyway, so your MVP's Coogan. We have the same MVP, same LVP. You go 5, I go 4. Trip to Italy. MVP for me, I'm going to go Bride.
Me too. And you're going to go 4, and I'm going to go 3.
That's right.
Of course.
I'm going to go 4. We didn't the LVP in that.
Yeah, who do you got?
Oh. I feel like it's going to be a woman, which is
of course ridiculous. It is. Well, no, it's not ridiculous. It's because the women are not well drawn in these movies.
Yeah, and the son is really good.
Yeah, I like the son a lot. I hope that changes. I actually really liked the girl that Rob Brydon hooks up with. I thought she was charming and had good chemistry with him. So I suppose that I will be going with the lady who comes with the son. I don't know.
Oh, you know who you could go with? Because they don't do anything with it.
Who?
This is a strange addition. This just occurred to me. In the first movie, there's a great tension with Yolanda, the photographer that comes with the assistant. And Coogan and her had slept together.
Yeah.
He had already slept together in the first movie, but he didn't remember. They sleep again. And then she comes back for the trip to Italy. And, it should be weirder than it is, but it's not weird at all. And
Henry didn't even realize it was the same character, so that's got to be the LVP.
Yolanda. Yeah, Yolanda.
Yeah. All right. The Trip.
very lastly, I love the ending of Trip to Italy. The cut when Bryden is just like waxing poetic, like over the cliff.
I have a real problem. I have a huge problem with the end of the Trip to Italy. What's the cut you're talking about, though?
It's the last thing before it fades to black, where he's just talking to, I think her name's Emma, the assistant, and they're just like looking over the cliff.
Yeah.
They're looking at Coogan and his son swimming in the beautiful, ocean.
Having fun, yeah.
Yeah, and he's just kind of standing there with her, and the last line, I didn't write it down, but like the last line is just something just kind of like, yeah, well, we're all here, and then, we're not, or something like that. But it's not as pithy.
Yeah, no, the end is that moment is fine. I just think that it ends in the middle of the third act. Like the first movie, they end the trip and go back home, and we wrap things up thematically. It's a really beautiful ending. In this one, it's literally like Coogan doesn't even have a storyline in this movie, and Bryden is like, he's slept with this other woman, and now he's admitted to this person who comes, the caretaker of the son, that he's considering going back and sleeping with her again before going home on the trip. And then the movie just ends.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that Coogan doesn't have a storyline. I mean, I think it's just not much of a, it's just more of, I think the movie's essentially like people wanted to see these guys again, go somewhere else. So let's
focus on Bryden this time, because we focused more on Coogan last time. I get that. I just want to know what the fuck happens. I think there should be a scene with him meeting his wife again at the end of the movie. Right. I need a scene between Bryden and his wife at the end of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it would be useful, but, I think it goes with the theme of a lot of the movie, where just a lot of stuff is implied or inferred through life experience between the characters that you're seeing, and they don't show you a lot. You just have to kind of think about it. But
yeah.
We'll see with the trip to Spain.
Spain and Greece next week.
I did not see Greece, the trip to Greece. I did see the trip to Spain, but I don't remember. These movies do blur together because of all the comedic shenanigans.
Great shenanigans.